to another episode of Anything and Everything with Donna Lisa. I'm your host, Donna Lisa, and today's guest is actually a repeat guest from my podcast from my first season. So, my brother, Darrell Que, he's back on the show. He was actually episode 9, my first season. We are going into 2023. This is the first episode I'm recording for the new year. So, welcome to the podcast, Darrell.
Thanks for having me. Says appreciate it. It's nice to be
Yeah.
back on again.
I know it's been an interesting year for the viewers out there and the listeners tuning in. I know most of you, if you've been following me, I had a rough couple of last 2 years. I've been kind of healing last year. I was going through a lot of treatments. I'm back at it. I'm back at work full time. Well, I've been working throughout this, but kind of on and off working from home and going into the office. And I kind of had to put the podcast, on the side for a bit. But I'm back and ready for 2023. And so I just wanted to get you on this first off, just because I think what you're getting into now or what you've transitioned into is a little bit, it's a little more beneficial for people, that are kind of tuning in. For those of you who actually listened to the first recording that we did back in 2022 or no 2021. I had you on the show. It was 2021,
I
and
think it was 2021.
yeah,
You're right. It's been
2021.
2 years.
So this is I'm going into my third year. I had 2 full years recording the podcast. This is my third year, and you actually were talking about how you got your start in the barber industry, but also talked a little bit about the financial side of what you're doing. So you've kind of transitioned more into that in 2022. Now, with that, how are you? I mean, what's your schedule like now? Because I know you're still a barber, but you also still do the financial side. I mean, is it 50-50, or is one, taking a little bit more time than the other? Like, how's that going for you?
Good question. The last time we did this podcast was 2 years ago, and it went by pretty quick. And first of all, I want to just hands to you and just like give you credit for doing this. I mean, the fact that you can continue to do this and fit this in your schedule amazes me. But yeah, 2 years went by quick, and I have to say that the past 2 years, the schedule has probably been more 80% working on the financial insurance side of the business and then 20% barbering. I'm actually devoting more time to the financial side more now. So a lot of that comes with just, obviously experience and just having more clients, getting more referrals.
Nice. And so are you now that you're kind of focusing more, on the financial planning side, or is your clientele, obviously I do know your clientele has picked up quite a bit. How is it like, what are the things that clients are coming to you about? Because I know you're more into creating wealth and, financial investments for people. What kind of questions are they asking you, and what's making them come to you more now as opposed to before? Is it just because you're focusing on it more, and you're putting yourself out there more, or is it just a lot of them are just curious about, hey, I want to start planning for my future. How can you help me?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the content that I've been putting on social media has been getting a lot of course, more attention, and it's creating a buzz. And also with a lot of the other influencers in the industry sharing a lot of information, uncommon type of strategies. So what's happening is in my circle, a lot of my followers are reaching out, just want confirmation, say, hey, I heard about this strategy. I heard about people using, for example, whole life insurance as this sort of like a wealth strategy. So a lot of them just want confirmation, and because they know who I am and I've
Mhm.
already built that connection. And obviously, in our business, they'll do business with people that they know, like, and that they trust. And usually, it's going to be somebody in your circle. So they're coming to me, of course, getting validation. I would say that, and wanting to know if this is really what's going on now. And more importantly, I think a lot of them just experienced a loss in them in their accounts, for example, in their retirement accounts this past year. 2022, there was like an average of 20 to 30% loss in the market, affected a lot of people's retirement accounts, and people have lost money, whether it was in Bitcoin, whether it's the stock market. We're seeing a lot of changes in the economy, things that happened last year, like the war on Ukraine and things like that. So a lot of things like that can impact a lot of people's portfolios. So when they get to this point of losing money, it's kind of like they want to get to a point where, like, how do I stop the bleeding and be able to move in a positive direction, or positive, as far as when it comes to their
Right.
account balance.
Okay. Yeah. And so I've noticed, well, just like my personal story, I tell people all the time. So my life insurance policy with you. I actually, for those who have been following me through my journey, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was in 2021. Had a double mastectomy October 2021. Went through treatments last year. Pretty much all of 2022 was doing chemo and radiation. Had my next surgery, which the next surgery after that, which was a hysterectomy, this past October. And with that, of course, I mean, I'm working full time. I have benefits with my company, my corporate company. And, with all the doctor appointments that, come with it, follow ups, surgeries, all that stuff, it costs money. And so I know I came to you. Actually, you actually approached me one day. You called me and you said, "Hey, you might want to look into pulling out from your policy." And I actually didn't even think about that, but I had been paying into this for so many years. And for everyone that's out there listening, it actually did help pay down a lot of, actually most of my medical bills. So that's definitely something. It was nice to have that cushion to be able to have that to pull out and take care of my health and not have to worry about being in so much debt. And I didn't have to like focus on, I focused a lot more on healing and not so more like, okay, I've got to get back into work. So I got to get, make more money and I have to pay down all these bills. So that was my experience. Now, do you have any clients that you've worked with that have recently been able to experience that, have that cushion, pull the money out and know that it's not something that's going to affect them, long term? There's a ton of people who have, whether it's financial debt or, medical debt, that they have to pull loans out, but this is something different. So can you kind of explain the strategy behind that, and how you kind of sell that to your clients as like a safe net?
Yeah, absolutely. So like, see, a lot of people forget about the fact that when we're planning for retirement or trying to accumulate wealth or whatever the case may be, they forget about some of the risks that they come upon, for example, like health risks. And it happens. At the end of the day, that's just something that we can't get away from. As we age, we get older, we're going to deal with some health issues. And a lot of times people don't realize that if they don't have like an emergency fund or something where they set aside that they can tap into if something unfortunate, with their health arises, then they're basically, they have to get loans, for example. They have to borrow from another source. So with your case, because you have a policy, a permanent policy that has living benefits, it allows you to access the money and accelerate some of that money so that way you can use it for, of course, with your situation, your situation with cancer. It could be with stroke, cancer, heart attack, other things like that. But people don't realize that if they don't have a plan in place like that, where you can actually manage these type of risks, health risks, then you're gonna end up just depleting, whether it's your investment account or your retirement account, or have to pull money out as a loan, right? So it doesn't put them in a better financial position. It actually puts them in a worse financial position than they were before that incident happened. So it's kind of like really just protecting yourself from any type of um, unforeseen circumstances like that when it comes to health. Having the access to using a policy, people don't realize that. They just look at life insurance as life insurance. You have to die to benefit from it. So there are living benefits to it on that side. That's a living benefit with a critical illness. They've also got the chronic illness, benefit as well.
Nice.
So the other part of your question, I'm sorry, I forgot to answer that, is some of my clients, what they've been doing. Some of my clients have accumulated enough money in their policies to where they can actually borrow from that. And that's a strategy we use because what you're doing is you're not interrupting the compounding of that account, and you're actually borrowing from the policy so you can use it to take advantage of investment opportunities. Some of my clients, whether they invest in real estate, maybe the stock market, instead of you know depleting one of their investments to take advantage of a great opportunity as an investment, for example, a real estate investment that comes up or something like that, or buying a certain stock on a dip, they're gonna have to, whether they have to sell some sort of investment. It creates a taxable event. You got to pay taxes. So part of the strategy of borrowing from your policy allows you to you leverage the cash value because you're basically using that cash as collateral, and you create, the insurance company gives you a loan, but then the loan, they'll have a charge on the loan, whether it's 4 to 5%, but you're able to use that to go invest somewhere else. You're going to earn a high rate of return. So a lot of guys are doing these type of strategies with their policies, but not really. I think with just you're the only one that I've actually worked with that had to use the critical illness
Right.
benefit.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna ask how many clients have you worked with that have had to use that? It was a great thing for me to have. I know, and just thinking about when mom was going through this, when she was still around, I don't even think we were aware that she had that
No,
option at the time.
no.
Yeah,
Well,
that I
mom's
would have helped.
situation, she had a term policy, and a
Okay,
term policy, it was an old one. It was a plain vanilla type of term, and you had to basically die to use it. Now they've got term policies that actually have these living benefits, and it's kind of funny you mentioned that because to be honest with you, the only ones that really experienced really using a life insurance policy was through mom and through you. Obviously, we know mom, she passed away when she
right,
was 67. She still had a term policy. And believe it or not, term policies, they only pay out, I think 1% to 2% is what they pay out. So what it tells you is more than likely you're gonna outlive the term policy. Well, mom was one of the 1%, 2% that actually passed away within that term. And to be able to see that death benefit, you know, come in the mail and see that
right,
amount of money, and also to see in your situation help you accelerate that living benefit for your cancer, really it made me realize I'm not saying I didn't believe in the business, but just to see it firsthand and experience that made me realize that
yeah,
this stuff really works, and it maybe it's just it's just weird how it works out that way where it's mom that I got to experience it with, and also with you as my sibling.
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, is that the main reason why you kind of got into this a little bit more, is just the benefit, like, the benefit for helping other people out, or is it just because you enjoy it?
Well, I think for me, why I got into it is because you obviously know I got into investing at a young
Yeah,
age. And just like everybody else, we all start by just trying to pick up a book, learn about it, ask people, and we don't really. Most people don't really know what they're trying to do. They're just trying to accumulate money because they look at it like, hey, I can work my day to job, my daily 9 to 5 job,
right,
and make money. But now it's like, how do I create more wealth or make more money? Well, everybody thinks about stock market, right, and all that. So we all get into it because we want to make more money, so to speak. But what happens is when you get into this business, you start to learn a lot about of these different type of investments, but a lot of them take on a lot of risk. And one of the biggest things that people forget about is creating a foundation. And what got me really into this is because we can always talk about rates of return, trying to accumulate wealth, invest in real estate, the stock market, but people forget the fact that if you begin with the end in mind, and in the end we're all going to die someday, and we are all going to deal with taxes when it comes to retirement. We need to focus on those two things before we start trying to worry about accumulating wealth and all that. A lot of times I ask my clients, like, if you were to like just be gone, like you wake up one day, your kids wake up, your wife, and you're no longer around, you pass away or something happens, is that, how would that affect your family as far as economically? Will it affect them or not? And of course, they're going to say, oh, yes, it will, because now who's going to pay the mortgage and all this? Well,
right,
then we should focus on those things first, because we don't know when we're going to go. At the end of the day, you don't know if you're going to live 10 years, 5 years. We don't know when we're going to go, right? And I think people focus too much on that and not realizing that, well, maybe we should just get a life insurance policy first as a foundation, but it doesn't have that sex appeal to it like some investments do. So I think why I got into it is because to really prove a point to everybody that you'd be surprised. Everybody thinks investing in the stock market, real estate, and
mhm,
all that's the real way to generate wealth. But now, because of social media, and you start to see a lot of this information coming out, there's a lot of influencers out there talking about using a cash value life insurance policy. So for me, it's kind of like I've always wanted to be different. Why I got into it? Of course, I wanted to be the typical financial
yeah,
advisor that everybody does. And at the end of the day, it's like I want to stand out from everybody else. You and I know when I grew up, I always wanted to be different. When I was
right,
barbering, nobody was barbering.
yeah,
It's when we got into the whole import race car scene. I didn't want to be like everybody else. I always wanted a different car to prove a point that, yeah,
yeah,
you want to be a person of interest. So for me, it's kind of like me wanting to be out there and stand out. And if you stand out from the crowd, more people will listen. But now, because of what's going on with social media, and all these other influencers coming out the same information, Grant Cardone talks about it. It's
yeah.
just more creating more credibility. There's more like third party credibility, and now they're calling me up to like get validation, pretty much.
I could definitely see that happening. I do remember seeing like a ton of things on TikTok coming up, and then I would reach out to you, and you would kind of validate things for me. But yeah, so that kind of how you are getting a lot of like your referrals right now, or clients coming back to you, is of course they've seen you post about it on social media and whatnot, but now they're seeing other influencers do it. There's a ton of content creators out there talking about this because I see that on my feed. And is that what's making them come back and ask you more about it and get more involved into it, or just kind of start their policies?
Yeah, it's like at first they're curious, and then there's
Yeah,
like this, it creates curiosity, of course, when they hear this information that's uncommon. So they hear it, then they send me, they'll share like the post with me, and then I'll look at it, goes, yeah, that's true. And then we sit down, have a meeting, and I validate things through showing them what it looks like through a calculator. A lot of the things that I do, and a lot of the financial advisors that I work with, we don't believe in sales type or opinions. We just try to
right,
prove everything with fact and with numbers, right? And
right.
we use calculators to prove a point. At the end of the day, it's kind of like if you're going to go to the doctor, you're not, a doctor's going to ask you a bunch of questions to see what's going on with your health, right? And then before they actually find a solution for you, they're going to have to show you the problems. So the way
Right,
they do that is they put up an x-ray and then, or MRI, they kind of point out the problems going on with whatever you're dealing with. For example, in your case, your cancer. And
right.
when you see that there's a problem there, then of course you're more motivated to find a solution for that, and you're willing to listen to the doctor. But if you were just to suggest like, hey, we need to do this and do that, without showing you any type of x-ray or any facts, anything that's that's there, you're not going to really act on it. You're going to be like, well,
Hmm.
prove it to me. What's really going on? So I think that's what basically I do is try to meet with a client. Well, not try, but I meet with a client, and then of course I expose basically what's going on in their financial plan.
Nice. So what kind of advice would you give somebody who's skeptical, or, starting a policy with you, or just getting
You
into
know,
it for the first time?
that's a good question because we're gonna have a lot of financial entertainers out there, like the Dave Ramsey's,
Yeah.
Susie Orman, and believe it or not, they have a wide audience that listens to them. And now I was a big Dave Ramsey fan back in the day, and he's great. They teach about debt, getting out of debt, and all that, and that's great. But a lot of times there's a lot of misinformation out there, but
Hmm.
you have to know where the source is coming from. Dave Ramsey, of course, he's going to talk about getting you out of debt, investing in the stock market, funds, and all this stuff. But sometimes you have to also think it's kind of like what we see on the media, or just whatever we see in social media with health. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So as the person looking at this information coming at them, they have to realize, okay, like, how do I let me validate this and find out the truth? It's you can't just take everything out there and believe everything that's there.
Right.
You have to actually look at it and be like, okay, well, how true is this, right? So for me, when they come to me, they always want validation, and it's hard because there's a lot of people out there, influencers, that will talk bad about it. So when they're skeptical, they're just kind of like, hey, I heard about this. And it's not in any way to brag, but when people come to me with any type of objection, I always have a rebuttal for it. I was like, okay, well, this is what it is. And I have factual information, and I validate it. At the end of the day, that's where you build credibility. I'm not gonna just, you know, talk a bunch of hype and all that, and share a lot of what all these other so-called agents or advisors are doing and pitch a product. A lot of these people say, well, show me how it works, and and then you of course come up with things like, well, let me show you based on the IRS code book. Here's the
Right.
code for this and that and that. So I guess the easiest way to put it is that is really just to educate the client. As they're going to be skeptical. It's like anything else. If somebody were to tell you like, hey, to help prevent cancer, you need to like eat this, right?
Right.
Well, you're going to start Googling information and all that. And you're going to get all kinds of different information, but you're going to start doing your research. Now, but if you were to work with an expert, like a nutritional guy type of dude that's into health, he'll validate that information, easily, because that's what he does and he studies. So someone like me who constantly studies this business, and that's what it is. In this business, you can't just like stop learning. I think one of
Right.
my mentors had told me, you have to constantly keep learning in this business, Darrell. You don't ever stop learning. The day you stop, then that's when you're not growing anymore. So I think for me, it's always wanted to just keep learning, so that way I can be
Right.
a great resource for my clients.
Nice. So as far as you, sorry, I'm actually this thing just popped up on my screen.
No problem.
No, I appreciate it. All the information that you gave me is actually great information, because I know I do have a lot of people who kind of do, they inquire about it, and I don't know enough about it, but I do tell them what you do. As far as where people can find you or reach out to you, is there a website, and what is your email address or your social media handle that they can find you at?
The social media handle will be, of course, my name, Darrell
Okay.
dot K, and then It's the same thing with LinkedIn. You just look at my name, Darrell Que. I mean, our last name K is unique, so it's easy to find. But
Right.
though my company website is highleveragefinancial.com, HI for high and then leverage financial. Um, the website is still I'm working on it right now.
Okay.
But it's gonna be a place where a lot of clients can go on there and get some resources and information and all that to validate what I talk about. So yeah, the social media would be, of course, my first name and last name.
And you have some good, I've seen a lot of the clips that you've been recently posting. You've had some great, advice or information out there for people to take in, before they actually get into it. Because I know it's a lot for people when they first start to think about it. They're just like, it's kind of confusing. I mean, even for myself, I don't know enough about it. That's kind of your expertise, but I see all the content that you're pushing out there, and I think a lot of the viewers are enjoying seeing it because it's free information for them, and it gives them a little bit more information before actually getting into it. So thanks for putting that out there. I've noticed you started doing a lot more putting more content out there, and it's giving me a lot more information than I would have normally wanted to know. But again, that's why I hire you to handle my stuff, because I don't want to do it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Is there, and I always ask all my guests this, and it's been 2 years, is there a daily affirmation that you like to either start your day off with? I know the last time you were on here, um, I can't remember what, but it was actually a really good one.
I
Um,
know I forgot what
it
it
was,
was. It was like
okay, I
there's
remember
so
now.
many.
It was
Yeah,
key. You said keep educating yourself. And
correct.
I remember that, and I so that's like on my spare time. I'm always constantly like wanting to read more stuff or search more things on the internet. Do you have a different affirmation for us today?
That's a good one because I'm always about learning. I'm always
Yeah,
about like trying to learn more, whether it's going to be in the financial world or whether it's in health or whatever the case may be. Um, but my new affirmation, and I got this from my mentor, my financial coach, is we all live life until we don't. And why I say that is because you and I know we're always going to grind and hustle, and we're
yeah,
always going to it's in our DNA. Just it's not like working 9 to 5, 5 days a week. We're gonna hustle 24/7. It's
right,
whether we're not physically doing that, of course, but mentally we're doing it. But we also got to learn to take a break and stuff and live life because you and I know with mom passing at a young age, it's a wake up call for us, for a lot of people too, that life is our most valuable asset. I mean, time is our most valuable asset, and life is very precious. It's people take it for granted a lot of times. They think that,
right,
they think, what, it's not going to happen to me. People just, unexpectedly it happens. And I hate to bring it up, but it's like here in Hawaii, they go crazy with fireworks, and bless those families that lost their loved ones to accidents with the fireworks. It
right,
happens. They're just having fun, but that's what I'm saying is like, you got to live life, live life until you don't, because when that time happens, and there was a time when mom was terminal, and sat with her in the bedside when she was sick. And that's what she had told me. She said that if she could do it all over again, she would have tried to enjoy life more
yeah,
than worrying about focusing on always making money. Because the money is going to be made either way you look at it. And
right.
if you can't, you know, you can't buy back your health. You can try your best and do all these things you need to do with health. But once you get to that point, it's like it's just a time clock. Just
Right.
time's ticking, and you just have to just kind of enjoy it and just live life. It's just the way I look at
Yeah.
it. Like,
No, I agree. I mean, I know a lot of people questioned, they saw me on social media. I was doing a lot even after or during my treatments, and they were like, "Why do you do so much?" I said, I'm just trying to enjoy life right now, because that my health the last year wasn't really a scare, but I knew I was eventually going to get something that mom had, right? It's in our genes, it's definitely genetic, but I was just never prepared to have it happen to me so young compared to when
mhm.
mom had it. So yeah, right when I was going through treatments and towards the end of it, I, joined a pageant. I did some traveling for work. I started traveling. They asked, "Are you healthy enough to go?" And I was like, "Absolutely." But yeah, I definitely think people should, live life, enjoy it. You only have one life, so definitely, live it to the fullest. That's a
Yeah.
great piece of advice. Yeah.
And
Um,
I want to add to that. I mean, and for all the listeners out there, I mean, I admire the fact that you didn't stop at what you were doing. Most people, like, what I'm saying is your daily workflow, what you do in your life. Most people would have probably taken it hard if they got news that they had cancer. They just, you definitely showed. the grit, and you're mentally strong to be able to deal with that, because some people freak
Right.
out, they panic, and then they just don't want to do anything. But the best, the you actually showed everybody that, life doesn't have to stop even though you have this type of news that you have cancer. You just continue
Right.
to move and flow with it. And like you said, it's in our DNA. If I get stricken with it, it's not like I'm gonna, it is what it is, move on. And I think the bigger purpose behind all of this, why I do what I do, is because not only experiencing with mom passing away, and then also with your situation, but I think a lot of people, if they can plan efficiently in what they're doing financially, right, with all the finances, and
Right.
also manage the risks, right, then they can continue to live life the way they want to live it. So I want to add to that affirmation, where we all live life until we don't, is going by your experience with you, what you've been through
Right.
with cancer these past 2 years. Like the fact that you continue to do what you do on a daily basis, whether your work and with your business, whether your podcast, real estate, it's inspiring, but it also motivates me, people like myself. Some people may think you're crazy, but
Right.
crazy people, do stand out, and that's why we're different. But no, I admire that, because you didn't let life stop, is what I was trying to say. You continue on, and most people would have probably been depressed, and that would not have made their situation better. But
Right.
it's weird if you think about it, is people look at you like, why was she like not relaxing and resting, and
Yeah.
she's stressing herself out. But you think about it, that's kind of like what brings a lot of, I don't know, joy and happiness to what we do. It's kind of
Right.
like I enjoy, as long as you love what you do, then it's not really considered work to me. And you show that you love what you do in your work. And yeah, we're gonna go through ups and downs and all that, but you did not at one time just stop what you're doing. You did the pageant, and
I
that
think I
that's
added
that's
too
a
much. I did too much,
yeah,
actually.
you did a lot. I mean, even for me, I wouldn't. I wake up in the morning, so thinking like, I don't know how you do it, and you being my younger sibling, and I'm the older one, just by 11 months. I mean, we're almost the same age. It makes me feel like, as the older brother, like I need to level up, because of this year, my sister's being boss babe. I gotta get out there and level up.
Yeah.
But to me, I can imagine how the other women feel when they see your flow and all that, your workflow. But for me, it's like it proved to me that, like, just because you get some sort of illness or something, some kind of bad news that you get with health, or maybe you're going through some stuff with your relationship or whatever, your marriage, doesn't mean
Right.
life has to stop. We have to just continue to live life. And I think for the both of us, what we're showing to our kids, that this is how we are, like we're living with a life of purpose. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
No, I know a lot of people used to ask me like why I continue to do so much. And I was like, I don't want to seem like life is just stopping. That's exactly what I said. I don't want life to just stop for me because of this setback. So immediately when I was getting through treatments and, recovering from surgery, I was like, okay, let me just get back into it. And so I was, working from home. I was taking calls. I was, doing a lot of different things at the pageant for one, training. I had a coach that I would do calls with her after, radiation, and she would ask, she would always inquire and say, how are you feeling? Because radiation does make you tired. But I
Mhm.
went, every day, did 30 sessions. So went every day for 6 weeks, 5 days a week. And it was right at the end of my work day. So I would go to work and then leave early and go to the cancer center and do radiation treatments. And that was every day. And then I'd have to get on a call and do my coaching calls with my pageant coach. And she would see me some days and say, look, I know you're probably tired and you're struggling, but are you okay to keep going? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Let's just keep going. So yeah, I think trying to just live life to the fullest is
Mm.
what I was trying to do best last year, because I really felt like half of the year was kind of taken away from me. Not necessarily taken away, but it was just I had a setback, a little bit of a
Yeah.
setback. So you saw things that I was doing in November and December, especially, just this past December. I had a lot of things going on with work, a lot of events,
Yeah.
was traveling a lot. And people were like, how do you do it? And I just said, honestly, last Christmas, I was going through chemo and I had COVID before Christmas last year. So this past Christmas, I was like, I'm just going to live life and enjoy the holidays because I
Yeah.
didn't really enjoy it last year. I was laid up in bed. So same with the new
I
year.
remember. I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah. And I guess, and that's what we can end with, is at the end of the day, it comes down to your attitude and your mindset.
Right.
I think if you have the right mindset and the right attitude in life, you can pretty much achieve anything you want and accomplish anything. I think people, right now, it's a new year. Everybody's got New Year's resolutions. and their whole new attitude and their mindset about things are like, oh, my New Year's resolution, I'm gonna go like drop some, pounds and lose weight or help live a healthy lifestyle. And
Religion.
that's what it is your attitude towards everything is how you live your life, your lifestyle, basically. I mean, if you're gonna be complaining about things, then and that's what you're gonna be, just a complainer. But if you
Right.
can, we're gonna go through setbacks, like you said, but it's how you bounce back from the setbacks. There's a quote out there that says that it doesn't matter, like, how many times you fall, whatever. It really comes down to, like, the comeback. How you come,
Right.
how you bounce back from everything.
Right.
And the end game, right? The results, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, good
Yeah.
advice. Thanks again for taking time out to chat and give me and my guests, some information on what you do. And for those who are interested, again, they can find you. It's at Daryl Daryl
Darrell
K.
dot yeah Darrell.Que.
Oh, there's a dot there. Okay.
Instagram is probably the best way. I mean, I got to get used to the TikTok. I know you do that stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm still getting familiar with the TikTok stuff. But Darrell.Que is my
Okay.
handle for IG. I always refer them, I always direct them to that, because that's where you'll see everything on my link tree and all that website,
Okay.
contact information, and all that. And then they can actually listen to a lot of the so-called uncommon financial strategies that I share.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your weekend to do this. And I'll definitely, hopefully, I'll have you on again, in New Year's, in the next year, and see what other new things you're doing.
Yeah, I'd love to be on here like every year if I could. I mean, I enjoy this. I
Yeah.
enjoy, it's kind of cool, a brother sister type of thing, and
Yeah.
I like that we can share. I can share what I've learned through a lot of the top financial minds that I work with. So definitely be a great resource for a lot of your listeners to listen in.
Absolutely. All
Oh,
right. You enjoy the
all
rest
right.
of your day, and we'll definitely stay in touch. Love you.
Okay. Love you.
Okay.
Thanks, sis. All
Bye.
right. Bye now.